I love beat 'em up games. They are by far one of my favorite genres in video games. I have been playing them since I've been a wee lad, and I have played a shit ton of games in this genre. I'm gonna go through my favorites in this list and all the reasons why I love them. But for those who don't know what this genre is, beat 'em up games most of the time consist of you against a barrage of enemies for whatever reason, being war, they stole your girl, or cause you just feel like it. So you have an excuse to, well, beat 'em up. So with all that being said, let's go. Let us jump straight to one of the funnest beat 'em up games I have played, Charlie Murder. This indie game left a big impression on me the first time I played it because of the gritty visuals, fun story, the very, very violent combat, and of course the fantastic soundtrack. Almost everything in this game is tied to the soundtrack because of the nature of the story. The story being about a punk band by the name of Charlie Murder fighting a former band member in his new heavy metal band. This game is all sorts of crazy, and thanks to this storyline we got all sorts of good punk songs, heavy metal songs, and overall just good songs. Now this game isn't for everyone though. It can be very gruesome and cruel at times, but overall it's a solid beat 'em up with fun, unique characters, a silly but entertaining story, and it can get really challenging in some areas. This game eventually got ported to PC, so if you like beat 'em up games, be sure to give this one a try so you can get to this scene and feel horrible for days. Castle Crashers is a special game for me and one that I have synced many hours into. This game is made by the Behemoths, a group behind many of my favorite indie games and my favorite childhood website, Newgrounds. I have been following them since their announcement of their first game, Alien Hominid, and I have many things to say about Newgrounds and the Behemoths as a whole, so I will probably explore that in a later video. So for now, let's focus on Castle Crashers. I played endless hours of it. There's so many things to discover, a crazy number of characters and collectibles, and it's just stupidly fun to play with friends. It can be challenging in some areas, especially those last 4 bosses if you're not ready for them. And this fucking corn boss. But overall, the difficulty progression in the game is pretty stable and balanced throughout, unless you're a masochist and want to throw all that out of the window and play insane mode where even the dumbest enemies and the dumbest stages kill you, like this stupid beetle. Other than the fun and simple gameplay, this game is extremely colorful and appealing. The art is just so clean and nice with how it handles its bosses, fights, and straightforward story that leave you craving more once you beat it. And the music in this game is a whole other level too. Using songs from the Newgrounds audio portal, there is a lot of amazing tracks that I can actually play here for once. It is no surprise that with amazing songs, clean crisp artwork, and fun simple gameplay / combos, why so many people love this game as much as they do, including me. It is the definition of charm. Fuck this stage though. This is probably the oldest game I have in this list, but it doesn't stop it from being one of the greatest beat 'em ups I have played. First and most, this is a game of TMNT, and well, I love TMNT. I was obsessed with them when I was a kid. I love this dumb movie, I love this dumb cartoon, I played a bunch of their games, I had a bunch of their toys, it was a whole thing, and when I first played this in an arcade, I was mind blown of how fun this game was. Turtles in Time was a really challenging game. To be honest, I don't think I have ever passed it, but I think I have that status with every TMNT game. Like, why is Shredder so hard in this game? Like, holy shit. But even with the insane difficulty, these games are so fun and great to play with friends that I really cannot wait enough for the new game Shredder's Revenge that is taking hardcore inspiration from Turtles in Time, and I am all for this. This game is based on one of my all-time favorite graphic novels, Scott Pilgrim. To say that I like this series as a whole would be an understatement. I read these around every 2 years. I watch the movie adaptation pretty frequently and consider it one of my favorite films of all time, though the books are better, don't at me. Thankfully, the game is based on the books and not the movie, because frankly, I don't know how I would feel using a virtual Michael Cera. Now, the game is a whole beast on its own. First and most, the gameplay loop is inspired in one of my favorite beat 'em up games, River City. The gameplay and the way you upgrade your character by collecting the coins the enemies drop when you beat them to spend them on power-ups and stat boosts is all very River City, and I love it. But where this game stands on its own, it's an amazing soundtrack played by no other than Anamaguchi. This is where the game stands on its own. The soundtrack made by Anamaguchi is phenomenal. It gives this game so much personality and love that I truly think this game wouldn't work without it. Because in reality, gameplay wise, it's pretty okay, because honestly other games in this genre play a lot better, including the one it's inspired from. But this game, without a doubt, has one of, if not the best soundtrack out of all the games in this list. It is completely carried into this list because of the soundtrack. And well, because I love Scott Pilgrim, but that's just me. The Big Boy. My favorite beat 'em up game without a doubt. The River City franchise has a lot of games and I couldn't just pick one, so I'm just going to talk about the general basics of this franchise. I will be putting the games that I am talking about in the corner. Maybe. I don't know. Let's see how it goes in the editing. River City is an old franchise that goes back to the original Nintendo. Now, the first game was very bare bone, but the formula nonetheless was created here. In these games, you beat the enemies into coins. You grind your way into some money to then later on buy upgrades, special abilities, and stat updates so you can become stronger faster. This prompted me into acquiring River City Ransom for the Game Boy Advance. This is a horrible cover art, and here it's where I got obsessed with the franchise. That formula that I mentioned was dialed up to 11 here. They added combos, the abilities were wacky and sometimes even insane, but it still maintained the same basic premise. Beat up, get coins, run to a store, get better. If you don't, you will die. You will suck in this game. And you can only buy upgrades at the stores, so you got to make it there without dying, because if you die, you lose a lot of money, if not all the money you made. It is incredibly addicting and so fun, and I love it. You see your character slowly getting better and you start understanding how to move around in this huge map without crashing against the stupid walls. Honestly, this is probably the most annoying thing in River City. Now, if you like this core concept, you would probably like the game series Yakuza, because those games are basically 3D River City, and they are great as well. So if you are into 3D more, then check them out. But if you're like me that loves 2D beat 'em up, most definitely play any of these games, especially this one. Horrible cover art and all. Now, there is a lot of games that I didn't cover in this video, because really there is a lot of beat 'em up games. So I'm just gonna speed through them. Fun Capcom game that I used to play with a good old friend with a leveling system that changes your character sprite as you level up, but it's funner with cheats because you level up every 2 hits and it's hilarious. Kung Fu Master, game I used to play a lot when I was little. Some say it's the father of all beat 'em up games. I don't know about that, don't quote me. The Simpsons arcade game. Fun ass arcade game. Is the Simpsons beat 'em up. What else you want? Dragon's Crown. I really got obsessed with this game back in PS3. Can get repetitive really quick. The rune system is really hit or miss. Wish it was in PC. Would play again. Funny ass lines. Battletoads. Fucking hard as shit. And lastly, Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. One of the craziest, if not the craziest beat 'em up game I have ever played. Ridiculously fun, ridiculously violent. I love it, and I am glad I found this on a random pen drive on the floor. There is not much to say to that story other than the fact that I quite literally just found this game on the floor. And many other games that I'm just not going to list. You get the idea. There are a lot. They're basic. They're fun alone. They're fun with friends. Go play them. Okay, bye.